Hello, and welcome back to your South King County real estate update. My name is Sarah Eggleston. Let me adjust my camera here. There we go. Sarah Eggleston with Stone Egg Realty at John L. Scott, and I am here with your South King County real estate update. I deliver the most current real estate news every Friday live right here on Facebook. Replays are available on Instagram, YouTube, my website. So all the places. Make sure you share and hit the like and subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching this on. And I want to thank you so much for watching. So I'll go ahead and get going here and jump right into the slides. Today is August 13th, Friday the 13th. Woohoo! And this is your South King County real estate update. So last week I did a special about the housing bubble and whether it's going to burst or not. Are we in a housing market crash? What's happening? So I encourage you to highly check that out. I got this question again just 2 days ago. So I am really encouraging you to watch this video, share the information. I apologize for the sound quality on this video because I was having some technical difficulties, so hopefully I will be able to get you a better sounding version of that soon. But make sure to check that out if you are at all concerned about the bubble or the housing market crash or all that. So what happened this week? So this week, a lot happened. So on last Friday after our show, we closed on a buyer deal, a buyer that I was representing down in Tacoma, first time home buyer. And I am so stoked for her. It was such an honor to give her the keys, and her whole family was there. It was a very emotional experience, and a few tears may have come, like happy tears. It was a long process for us. There was a lot called out in the appraisal that had to be addressed by the seller before we could transfer title. So basically we overcame all these hurdles. Eventually there was 3 or 4 extensions on that deal. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking not knowing when close date was, but we made it through. And she got her keys on Friday. Then on Sunday, I took a buyer out. They were considering purchasing land to build, but they were also considering a house that was at a price point where they could make the adjustments that they wanted. And if they couldn't build, they wanted to be able to put their own finishes and touches on the house. So we went and looked at a couple tear downs because if you're looking to build, a tear down is it could be a money saving option because the utilities are already to the property, to the house location. So it can be very expensive to hook up to the city or county sewer, like $300 a foot or more. It is just it can make a project just unfeasible as far as needing to hook up to the sewer and just having it be out of the price point, which is what happened to us on the plot of lands that we were looking at, the plots of land that we were looking at. But the 2 tear downs, they were real tear downs, and basically it was going to be significantly more work, and the location wasn't as nice as they thought it might be. So ended up going for a house. We looked at one house that day and ended up putting an offer on it and getting that offer accepted. We were the only offer on that house. So in that price point, I'm really surprised that we were the only offer. This market is changing, and I can tell that the buyer demand per house is definitely decreasing. As we get more houses on the market, the buyer demand is a little bit more spread out. So we got pending on that house, and we did our inspection a couple days ago. We haven't 2 days ago. We haven't responded to our inspection. We can do that as late as Monday. So there's no rush there. We'll work on that over the weekend. But then on Tuesday, I closed on another property of my listing up in Bothell that closed this week as well. So in the last 7 days, I've closed 2 deals and gotten another one under contract, plus had a contractor out at my place, the place that my husband and I are purchasing. So if you missed that video, make sure to check out the update on my housing purchase on either Facebook or Instagram. But yeah, it has been a busy week. So I'll go ahead and jump back into the slides here. So as far as news, this article came out a few days ago or yesterday. Rent is going up. Here's what you need to know. So the coronavirus caused a lot of housing concerns and all that. Then we had the eviction moratorium put into place. So landlords couldn't raise rent and they couldn't evict their tenants, and their tenants, despite whether their tenants were paying or not. So that can, for larger real estate companies, that's an easier thing to absorb. But for those people that have like 1 or 2 rental properties and they're using that rental income to pay their mortgage, it's a little bit of there's a little bit of a challenge presented there. So I understand both sides of the argument here, as far as like, well, both sides of the struggle, essentially. But there's been a lot of tenants that have received notice that their rent is rising. Now that the eviction moratorium ended on June 30th, there was a 60-day, the landlords had to give 60 days notice before raising rents. And a lot of them are raising rents significantly. So people are looking at other rental options to move into. And most rentals require first and last month deposit, or first and last month rent plus a security deposit for any damage deposit. And that cost can be significant. If you are struggling to make your monthly payment anyway, saving up 2 months of rent to move into a new place plus the security deposit is just not super feasible for some people. So they have to just accept their rising rent and sign their another year agreement. So rents are trending upwards. There's at the beginning of the pandemic, there was any open units that renters were trying to, or landlords were trying to fill, they were offering it at a super discount, or bonuses like first month rent, first month free, or they're basically having to do all these promos to get renters to come be in their spot. A year later, we have South Lake Union's up 7% compared to the same time in 2020. Ballard's up 3.5%. Central Seattle is up 1% in rents from a year ago. So the closer you get to downtown Seattle, the less it's increased, I guess. But if you go outside the immediate Seattle area, rents have increased pretty significantly. In Puyallup and Eastern King County, it says the rents went up about 11% in the past year. And this is a chart that shows different area breakdowns of how much the rent has increased in the past year. So you can see Kent has increased like 7.8%. Gig Harbor's up almost 13%. And Tacoma's up 9.7% from a year ago. These numbers are in some cases pretty significant and could potentially price people out of that area. For tenants, they're basically being put on a lot stricter timeline for paying things. They have to, the eviction moratorium is no longer in place. There are certain certain groups of people, like people on government housing, that there are exceptions for, but otherwise, evictions can come back, and there's a 60-day notice for any rent hikes. So this one renter in Olympia rented a 2-bedroom for $950, a 2-bedroom apartment. Her rent was scheduled to increase by $150 a month, or about 16%, plus $100 for utilities. And she said the decades-old apartment was not worth the jump. In Lakewood, another renter received a notice that her $900 rent would soon increase to $1,000, plus extra fees for utilities and rent insurance. And this renter does not have the ability to save for a first and last month payment to move to a new apartment. So she's probably going to be forced to extend her lease at her higher rate. But landlords are saying that they are unable to cover their expenses without raising rent. It's been a really big challenge for a lot of landlords over the past 16 months. It's, like I said, the bigger rental companies, property, like the larger property management companies that own and rent out their units, they're probably doing okay. But those smaller renters that own 1 or 2 rental properties that their renter wasn't paying, a lot of those people are struggling right now. And property taxes have gone up a lot in our region in the last year or so, because home values have gone up, in addition to some other tax things that have passed. So with that in mind, I saw this article come out a couple days ago from Keeping Current Matters, which is a real estate education website. And with rents on the rise, is now the right time to buy. So I thought this was a good time to touch on this information right after that article. But according to Realtor.com, rental prices have reached their highest point ever recorded. So this is a national article. This is for the US as a whole, and each area is different, but the trends in our area match this same statistic. Beyond simply recovering to pre-pandemic levels, rents across the country are surging. Typically, rents fluctuate less than 1% from month to month. In May and June, rents increased by 3.0 and 3.2% each month to the next. So basically, they put a cap on raising rents and said no one can raise rents, and then they released that cap and everyone went, whoop, rents raised. So monthly rents are higher than monthly mortgage payments. This obviously depends on the area you're looking at and what type of property you're looking at, but in many, many cases, the rent for a property would be less than what you could get, or the rent for a property would be more than what you can get the mortgage cost down to. Like I said, this is kind of a case-by-case basis, but there's one of the things that the last article mentioned about being a barrier to moving to another rental apartment was not having it first and last month rent saved up. So there are programs to get great renters into homes that require zero down. So if saving up that down payment is the hardest part for you and you really can afford to do that mortgage payment, it's I would like to have a conversation and just show you a little bit about what we can do, and the no down payment program, or the no down mortgage programs that are available for those great renters that are so close to being able to buy, but they just don't have that down payment. But you can see the median monthly mortgage has remained constant, it remains constant throughout the 30-year span, unless you refinance or move or sell the house or whatever. But your rents can fluctuate up and down all the time. And here it's showing that the monthly median mortgage is less than the monthly median rental prices on a nationwide scale. Rents are also rising sharply. There's, you can see the graph here. This is median asking rent for the United States since 1988, and it has only gone up. Like, woo, especially at the end here, this is quite the vertical line. Rents are always going to rise. Is your rent if you stayed in the same place, has your rent ever gone down? Mine hasn't. I've had rents go up while I stay in the same place, but never go down. Whereas if you have a mortgage, that payment remains pretty consistent across the board unless your taxes change. So it's pretty minimal change. Yeah, so stable housing costs is one of the biggest benefits of home ownership. You can't just have a landlord raise your rent on you for essentially no reason. So with rents rising so quickly and such great interest rates, plus all these zero down programs, who knows? Maybe right now is the time to start that conversation about purchasing your home if you are a renter. And that brings us to our market stat minute. We've remained pretty consistent on our new listings, pendings, and sold from the last week. Our solds did tick down and our new listings did tick up, but just ever so slightly. So for South King County, these are monthly recaps for ending in July. And you can see the sold is significantly more than the for sale still, but the gap there is not nearly as close as, or as big of a gap as it was in June. So you can see the stronger the sold is compared to the for sale. This is a strong seller's market. Buyers are struggling for properties. And as much as this gap, is closing, more buyers are finding homes, and there's more listings on the market. So there's still a lot of deals happening, but the buyers are spread out among these around more units basically than they were in May and June. And our for months of inventory, so this is a theoretical number. If no new homes came out on the market and homes continued to sell at the same rate that they are selling, we would run out of inventory in blank months. So right now we are in South King County, we are at 0.6 for single family homes. In June, we were at 0.4. So you can see the intensity is starting to soften, and there's still a lot of transactions happening, but it's not as intense for buyers. And this top line here is sales price as a percentage of original list price. So back in March, or in April and May, we were selling at 108% of list price. Now we're down to 107 on average list price, and or in June, and July brought us down to 106% of the list price. So things are still selling above list price. 106% is still a really strong number, but it's just edging back slightly from the intensity that we were at a couple months ago. So if we look at our showing traffic for North America, we're remaining pretty consistent in our showing traffic. And flipping forward to mortgage rates, last week we had an average weekly rate of 2.77%. And this week we were at 2.87%. So things have gone up a little bit. The uncertainty over the fast spreading Delta coronavirus variant is and its potential effect on the economic recovery has been a backdrop in recent weeks, suppressing the mortgage rates. But last Friday, the government reported that the U.S. employers had added a number of jobs, 943,000 jobs in July, and drove the employment rate down to 5.4%. So our unemployment rate is definitely decreasing. There's been actually a lot of employers that are struggling to find people to fill the jobs that they're looking to fill. So we're seeing just a decrease in unemployment, and the labor report that came out last Friday was significantly better than most people thought it was going to be. But we know that there's still the Delta variant out there, and the potential for it to affect our recovery could send rates back down in a few weeks. Who knows? But if we look at our daily rate, remember this is a weekly rate that most of the companies surveyed turn their survey answer in on Monday. So this is basically a Monday to Monday comparison, kind of. So we have come up to 2.95% this week. So we actually stayed pretty steady from yesterday, but since last Friday, mortgage rates have been kind of ticking up. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My phone number and email address are on the screen there, or feel free to message me on whatever app you're watching this on, whichever social media outlet. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I love chatting about real estate. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to have that conversation with you. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of South King County Real Estate Update. I hope you found it valuable. And if you did, please share it with a friend that may also find it valuable. And let me know if there's any questions you have or any topics you want me to cover on future shows. I am happy to oblige. So join me next Friday, 3 p.m. I will be right back here live on Facebook. Replays available on Instagram, YouTube, my website, a number of other places. So stay tuned for what's going to happen next in real estate. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Have a good one.